The wind moved across the broken land like a lonely spirit. Dust rose from shattered rocks and old metal ruins, making the whole place feel like a forgotten battlefield. Sergeant Evan Halley walked through the ruins with slow, tired steps. His breathing was heavy, and every muscle in his body felt weak. The crash had thrown him far from his ship, far from his team, and far from any hope of rescue. But he kept moving. He was a soldier. Humans didn't give up easily, not even on alien worlds. He pressed a hand on his injured side, feeling warm blood under his torn uniform. The wound burned every time he inhaled. He knew he needed help soon, but there were no humans here. No medkits. No shelter. Just broken buildings, old equipment, and the strange silence of a world that had lost something important. Evan stopped for a moment and looked at the huge metal structure in front of him. Maybe it used to be a research center or a supply station. Now it was nothing but twisted steel and shadows. He stepped inside, hoping for water, maybe something useful. Then he heard it, a soft sound. Not wind, not machines, not an animal. A small, trembling whimper. Evan froze. His training made his eyes scan every corner. His hand reached for the makeshift metal rod he used as a weapon. The sound came again, higher this time, thin and scared. It didn't sound like a creature hunting. It sounded like something hiding, something afraid. Evan moved closer, stepping over broken beams. The shadows shifted. He crouched near a collapsed wall and gently pushed aside a piece of metal. His heart stopped. 3 small figures stood behind the wreckage. Children. Alien children. Their skin glowed a soft blue, almost like gentle moonlight. Their eyes were wide, shimmering silver like polished glass. Their hair was white, falling softly around their thin faces. They looked fragile, too fragile for a place like this. The moment they saw him, they jumped back, fear filling their eyes. The smallest child stumbled and fell. The middle one grabbed their hand protectively. The oldest spread their arms in front of the others, like a shield. Evan's breath caught. They were terrified of him. Slowly, very slowly, he knelt down and set the metal rod aside. He raised both hands to show he meant no harm. "It's okay," he said softly. "I won't hurt you." They didn't understand his words, but they understood his voice. Still shaking, they stared at him. The smallest child's eyes filled with tears. The oldest whispered something in their language, their voice trembling. Evan's chest tightened painfully. He had seen fear in many places, war zones, disasters, evacuations, but the fear in these children's eyes was different. They were alone, lost, maybe trapped here for days. Maybe their parents were gone. He knew he should leave. He knew injured humans shouldn't stay around unknown species. He needed rescue. He needed safety. He needed to survive, but he couldn't turn away. Not from them. He reached into his worn pack and pulled out a ration bar. Gently, he placed it on the ground and pushed it toward them. The children stared at it. The middle one touched the wrapper carefully, almost like they expected it to explode. When nothing happened, they took a small bite. Their eyes widened. Then all 3 of them rushed to the food, sharing tiny pieces between themselves. Evan felt warmth in his chest, soft, unexpected. "It's all right," he whispered again. "Eat, you're safe." The smallest child looked at him again, tears still shining. Then they took a slow step forward. Another step. And another. Evan kept still. The child reached him, touched his hand with a trembling finger, and didn't pull away. That one small touch made something inside Evan shift. He didn't know these children. He didn't know their species, their world, or their past. But right now, they were helpless. Right now, they needed someone. And right now, he was the only one here. He looked at the ruined sky. Then at the frightened children. A decision settled in his heart, a decision that felt simple and right. He would protect them. No matter what lived in these ruins. No matter what danger came next, he would stand between fear and these children, even if it cost him his life. Night fell over the ruins like a dark blanket. The sky glowed faintly red from distant storms, and the wind howled through broken walls, rattling loose metal sheets. Every sound felt louder in the quiet of the ruined outpost. For most humans, it would have been terrifying. For Evan Halley, it was only a warning. Danger was always nearby, but now he had others to protect. The 3 alien children huddled close to him. Their small bodies shook, not from cold, but from fear. The smallest one pressed its face into his chest, while the middle one clung to his arm, trembling so hard that Evan could feel it through his jacket. The oldest one stayed a little back, alert, watching the shadows, ready to warn if anything came near. Evan looked at them and felt something he hadn't felt in a long time: responsibility that was not forced by duty, but chosen. These children had no one. Not anyone. And somehow they trusted him. He found a corner of the ruined building and cleared a small space. Using scraps of wood and metal, he made a small fire. Sparks flew, catching on dry debris, but he carefully nurtured it until a weak flame danced and gave warmth. He had no fuel for long, no food left, just a few small rations he had saved. Still, the warmth made their wide eyes glimmer and brought a tiny sense of safety. Evan tore one ration into small pieces and handed them to the children. The smallest one hesitated at first, then slowly nibbled. The middle one ate quickly, and the oldest looked at Evan, not trusting food easily. He smiled faintly. "You'll get stronger," he said quietly. "We need to stay strong, together." He didn't know if they understood his words, but the tone carried meaning, comfort, reassurance, safety. That was enough for now. The wind outside made the walls creak. Strange noises echoed through the broken building. Evan stayed alert, sitting beside the children, his metal rod ready. Every few minutes he peeked outside, scanning the shadows. Sometimes he imagined creatures with sharp claws or glowing eyes stalking the ruins. He felt tired. Every bone ached. His side throbbed from the old injury, and hunger gnawed at him. Yet he refused to rest fully. He had made a promise, even if he didn't say it out loud, to guard these children. And a promise like that could not be broken. The middle child whispered something in their alien language. The youngest whimpered. Evan put a hand on both of them. "It's okay," he said softly. "I'm here. You're safe. I won't leave." He could feel their small hands grip his arm as they pressed close. The oldest child moved to sit near him, shoulders hunched. They were exhausted, but their fear did not vanish. It only softened. Evan closed his eyes briefly, imagining home, imagining a warm bed, a quiet room, but then he felt the small hands on his arms and the weight of responsibility. He opened his eyes and looked down at them. This was home now. This was what mattered. He whispered again, almost to himself, "I'll keep you safe. No matter what comes. No matter what happens." The children listened, and though they didn't understand the words, they understood the promise. That night, they fell asleep leaning against him. The smallest one's head rested on his chest. The middle one curled against his side. Even the oldest one relaxed slightly, eyes closing as the firelight flickered across their faces. Evan stayed awake for hours, holding his metal rod, listening to every sound. The wind, the storm, footsteps, anything. He imagined shadows moving closer, imagined claws scraping metal. Imagined danger breaking through the fragile walls, but he did not flinch. Not once. He was tired, hungry, and hurt, but he was also strong. Stronger than he had ever known. Stronger because it was not just about survival anymore. It was about them. As the fire crackled, Evan whispered one last thought into the night. "I promised. I'll guard you with my life. No one will harm you. Not while I live." The children murmured softly in their sleep, almost like they heard him. Almost like they understood. And in that dark, broken outpost, with only a small fire and the cold wind outside, something unspoken passed between human and alien. A bond, a promise. A connection forged in fear, warmth, and trust. That night, Evan Hale became more than a soldier. He became a guardian, and nothing, no storm, no predator, no force would ever make him break that promise. The night passed slowly, but it passed. Dawn broke over the ruins with a pale, cold light. Evan's body ached from his injuries and lack of sleep, but he couldn't rest for long. Outside, the alien world was alive in a way humans rarely saw. Strange birds with glowing wings flitted across broken towers. And creatures with long legs and sharp claws moved in the distance, hunting, watching. Danger was never far. The children were awake before he was. The smallest one tugged at his sleeve, blinking sleepy silver eyes. "Food?" It asked in broken English, the words jagged but understandable. Evan smiled faintly, sitting up and tearing off small pieces of ration bread. They ate quietly, glancing around the ruins. Evan knew something was wrong. The wind carried a low, heavy sound, something unnatural. He stood slowly, muscles stiff. "They're coming," he whispered. The oldest child froze, understanding more than the others. The middle one clutched his arm tighter. Evan grabbed his metal rod, scanning the edges of the ruins. Shadows moved, shifting unnaturally, and then they appeared. Tall, bone-armored creatures with burning red eyes emerged from the wreckage. They walked like hunters, deliberate and terrifying. Each step shook the ground slightly. Their jaws clicked, and their claws scraped the metal around them. The children screamed and ran for cover. Evan pulled them behind a collapsed wall, shielding them with his body. "Stay down! Don't move!" He barked, voice firm but calm. The creatures advanced, growling in their harsh language, snarls echoing through the ruins. Evan felt a hot rage build inside him. He had fought before, in human wars, against machines and aliens, but this was different. These were children, helpless, innocent, and these monsters dared to hunt them. He stepped out from cover, rod in hand. One creature lunged. Evan dodged and swung, striking its jaw. A loud crack echoed. The creature stumbled but recovered, hissing. Another charged, and he blocked it, twisting his body, using every ounce of strength. Pain shot through his injured side, but he ignored it. Every strike, every block, every step was for them. The children watched, terrified, but unable to tear their eyes away. They whispered, tiny sounds of worry and hope. Evan could feel their fear, but also their trust. They believed he could protect them. And that trust made him stronger than he had ever been. Hours or maybe minutes. Time blurred past in a blur of teeth, claws, and sweat. Evan fought with skill and desperation, moving faster than his body should allow, dodging blows, striking where he could. Each creature that fell made a small cheer in his heart. He couldn't let them harm the children, not now, not ever. Finally, the last creature hesitated, snarling. Evan pressed forward, tired, bleeding, but relentless. With a sharp strike, the beast fell to the ground. The ruins fell silent, except for Evan's ragged breathing. He turned, expecting to see the children safe. And they were. Huddled behind the wall, shaking, eyes wide, looking at him with awe and relief. The smallest one ran forward and hugged his leg tightly. The middle one did the same, whispering, You saved us." Evan bent down, brushing hair from their faces, smiling faintly through the pain. "I told you," he said quietly, "I'll guard you. No matter what." The oldest child stepped forward and touched his arm lightly, in their strange, quiet way of showing thanks. Evan felt something warm fill him, deeper than relief or pride. It was purpose, protection, love simple and strong. He sat down against the wall, holding the children close. His body ached, his wounds throbbed, but for the first time in days, he felt something more than exhaustion. He felt alive. He had made a promise, and he had kept it. Even in a world that was strange, cold, and full of danger, Evan Hawley had a reason to fight. He had a purpose stronger than fear or pain. He had the children, and he would stand between them and anything that threatened them. Even if it cost him his life. As the sun rose higher, casting long shadows across the ruins, Evan whispered to the children, "I won't let anything hurt you. Not ever. You're safe. With me." They pressed closer to him, trusting him completely. And in that quiet moment, amidst blood, sweat, and fear, Evan knew something he hadn't realized before. He wasn't just a soldier. He was their guardian. And they had already changed his life forever. Evan woke slowly, his body sore, his muscles stiff. The ruins were quieter now, almost peaceful. The children slept beside him, huddled close for warmth and comfort. For the first time since the crash, a sense of calm touched him. But the feeling didn't last. He heard a sound that made his heart stop, a soft, powerful vibration in the ground. Something large was moving nearby. He stood quickly, scanning the horizon with tired eyes. Dust and wind stirred as a shadow approached. It was not like the creatures they had fought. It was different, graceful, commanding, strong. The children stirred and woke, sensing the presence before they saw it. They clung to Evan's sides, their small hands gripping his uniform. "Mom?" The middle one whispered in their broken English, voice trembling with hope. Evan felt a surge of protectiveness. Whoever or whatever approached, he would stand between them and danger, always. Then she appeared. Tall, proud, fierce. Her skin shimmered blue like her children's, but darker and stronger. Her eyes were silver and intelligent, scanning the ruins with careful precision. Every step she took spoke of authority and experience. Yet there was fear in her gaze when she saw her children. "Lyra," the oldest child gasped, running forward, arms outstretched. The others followed. Evan stepped aside, letting them run into her embrace. The mother's voice was melodic, carrying across the ruins like a song. "My children!" She gathered them tightly, kissing their heads, checking their bodies for injuries. Her eyes widened as she saw the scratches, bruises, and dirt covering them. Her hands trembled slightly, showing the depth of worry she had carried over miles and hours to find them. Then her gaze fell on Evan. He was sitting on the ground, blood and dirt streaking his uniform. Wounds ran along his arms, his side, and his face. He looked exhausted, but he had an unbroken spirit in his eyes. Her expression changed: curiosity at first, then something softer. Something like awe. You kept them safe, she said, her voice almost a whisper, breaking under relief and disbelief. You fought for them, alone? Evan shrugged, embarrassed. I just didn't want them hurt. I didn't think. You didn't think? She interrupted softly, stepping closer. You risked yourself. For my children, alone, against creatures that could have killed you in an instant. He looked down, unable to meet her eyes fully. They needed me. I couldn't leave them. For a long moment, Lyra studied him. Then she knelt beside him, resting a hand gently on his shoulder. You have a heart stronger than many warriors I have known. Not because you are trained, but because you care. You risked everything for my children. You are remarkable. The children watched silently, their small hands still clinging to Evan. They understood enough to feel the bond he had formed with their mother. They whispered in their language, pointing at him and smiling. Lyra listened and nodded, understanding their words through her intuition and love. They call you their protector, she said to him quietly. And I am grateful, forever. Evan's chest tightened. He had not expected gratitude. He had not expected recognition. He had not expected this connection, so deep, so sudden. With someone who had crossed the stars, searching for the children he had protected. She stood then, still looking at him with intensity softened by warmth. Come with me, she said. You need care. You deserve care. And I want to know the human who risked everything for my children. Evan hesitated. His life had been human, filled with orders, missions, and survival. Now he faced a world of alien grace, power, and beauty. Yet there was trust here, unspoken, yet undeniable. He had protected the children with his life. And now, their mother's presence added a weight he could not ignore. That he nodded slowly. I'll follow you. Lyra smiled a small, genuine curve of her lips that made Evan feel something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. The alien mother gathered her children. All three now safe and trusting him, and together they moved through the ruins. Evan stayed close, alert for danger, yet strangely comforted by her presence. Her strength balanced his own, and in her eyes, he saw something that went beyond gratitude. Something like trust. Something like family. And for the first time, Evan realized that surviving the crash, surviving the creatures, and keeping the children safe had led him to more than safety. It had led him to someone who could change everything. As the sun rose higher, casting long shadows across the ruins, Evan walked beside her, carrying not only the weight of his own survival, but also the bond of a promise, one that would shape the rest of his life. He had guarded the children with his life. Now their mother had come, and he sensed that his life would never be the same again. Days passed aboard Lyra's ship, and Evan slowly regained his strength. Alien medicine was unlike anything he had known, healing wounds with a soft glow of light and strange humming sounds. The pain that had consumed him for days faded, leaving only the memory of exhaustion and the taste of relief. The children were always near, their silver eyes bright with curiosity and cautious trust. They followed him, sometimes touching his hands, sometimes leaning against him as he walked. They had come to see him not only as their protector, but as someone safe, comforting, almost like family. Lyra watched this quietly. Her eyes, sharp and intelligent, never missed a single gesture. She observed the way Evan moved, the care he showed for her children, the gentleness mixed with strength in every action. There was something in the human that stirred her, something she had not expected. She had feared the worst when she found her children, but this human, he was different. Evan did not speak much. Words were limited between species, but gestures and tone were universal. He prepared meals for the children, played with them in their small ways, and made them laugh with simple tricks and funny noises. He carried them when they tired, shielding them from small dangers aboard the ship. Each day, he proved himself not just brave, but selfless. One evening, the children were asleep, and Lyra approached him. The ship's corridor was quiet, lit by soft ambient lights. She studied him for a long moment. You have a human heart, she said softly. It is rare to see such courage. Such care. You could have left them. You could have saved yourself. Yet you did not. Why? Evan shrugged, looking down at his hands. I don't know. I guess I couldn't leave them. Not like that. They trusted me, and I promised. Lyra's lips curved slightly. A promise? She asked. He nodded. Yes, I promised them I would keep them safe. That's all I could think about. Nothing else mattered. She stepped closer, her gaze steady. It matters, human. You could have died. You could have been lost in this world. And yet, you survived. You are more than a soldier. You are a guardian. Evan met her eyes then, and for the first time, he saw something more than respect. Something soft, almost shy, but also deep. He felt his chest tighten. He had saved her children, yes, but somehow he realized she had also saved him from the emptiness he had carried for years. The next day, the children climbed onto his lap, giggling as he tried to read them strange stories using hand gestures and broken phrases. Lyra watched from a distance, smiling softly. She had never imagined a human could bring such warmth into her world, such laughter and safety. Yet here he was, and her heart stirred in ways she could not explain. At dinner, the human sat with the children while Lyra joined them. She noticed how naturally he interacted with her family, how careful he was not to hurt, how patient he was with every question, every small need. The children's eyes followed him constantly, trusting him completely. Lyra could see it. She could feel it. He was part of their family now, part of their world. Later, when the children slept, Lyra approached him again. Her hand brushed his arm lightly, testing, unsure. You have done what few can, she said. You have given them safety, warmth, love. And in doing so, you have changed my heart. I never thought I would feel this again. But seeing you with them, seeing how you care, I want to know you more. Evan looked at her, exhausted but honest. I don't know what to say. I'm just me. I did what I thought was right. She smiled softly, stepping closer. That is enough. That is why I admire you. That is why I care. For the first time, Evan realized that his bond with these children had brought him into a new world, one where he was valued not just for his strength, but for his heart. He had come as a survivor, a soldier alone. Now he was becoming something else, a guardian, a friend, and perhaps in time something more. The ship sailed silently through the stars that night, carrying a human who had risked everything for alien children, and a mother whose heart had begun to open in ways she never expected. Their paths had crossed in desperation, fear and courage, and now they were bound by trust, care, and something neither could deny. Evan looked at the sleeping children and then at Lyra. He had guarded them with his life, and in doing so, he had discovered a new world. A world of connection, of love, of belonging. And he felt, for the first time in a long time, that he was finally home. The stars stretched endlessly outside the ship's windows, distant and cold, yet somehow comforting. Evan sat quietly in the corner, watching his reflection in the glass. His uniform, patched and cleaned, still carried the faint marks of battle and the dust of the ruins. He had survived barely, but the weight of the past days pressed on him in ways he could not ignore. The children were asleep nearby, their silver eyes closed, soft breathing filling the quiet room. They had finally relaxed, trusting him completely. They were safe. For now, at least. Lyra entered the room quietly, her footsteps soft against the floor. She sat beside him without a word. For a long moment, neither spoke, just watching the children. Then she placed a hand lightly on his shoulder. You have done more than anyone could ask, she said softly. You saved my children. You healed them in ways I could not. And yet, her voice trembled slightly, I fear that you will leave. Your world waits for you. Your duty, your people, your life. Evan looked at her, conflicted. He had always been a soldier. His life had been about missions, orders, survival. And now, he faced a choice unlike any he had ever faced before. Stay in this alien world with her and her children, or return to humanity and the life he had always known. I don't know, he admitted. I never thought I'd face a choice like this. My world, it expects me to return. To survive, to fight, to serve. But, my heart. He trailed off, looking at the sleeping children, then at her. They need me. You need me. And I don't know if I can go back now. Lyra reached for his hand, her touch gentle, grounding. You don't have to choose duty over heart. You've already proven who you are. You risked everything for those who could not protect themselves. That is courage. That is humanity. Her words struck him deeply. Humanity, not just as a species, but as a force, a will to protect, to love. To care even when the odds are impossible. That was why the children trusted him. That was why she trusted him. That was why he could not turn away now. The smallest child stirred, rolling over and stretching tiny arms toward him. The middle child mumbled in their language, half awake. Evan bent down, lifting them gently into his arms. The children snuggled close, sensing the seriousness of his thoughts. "You're not just a human," Lyra said softly. "You are more than that. You are a guardian, a protector, a heart that does not give up. That is why I want you here. Not as a guest. Not as a soldier. But as part of my family." Evan swallowed hard. He had fought countless battles, faced death more times than he could count, and yet none of them had carried the weight of choice like this. This was different. This was life, connection, love, and responsibility, all rolled into one impossible decision. "I never imagined. I could feel this," he admitted, his voice low. "But now, I can't think of leaving. Not you, not the children. Not this chance to be more than a soldier." Lyra smiled, a warmth in her eyes that made his chest ache. "Then choose. Stay with us. Help us build a life together. Be the protector, the father, the human who gave everything to save those he loved." The children stirred again, tiny voices whispering, "Stay. Stay." Their trust, their love, their small hands reaching for him, it was all he needed to make the decision. Evan looked at her, then at the children. The ruins, the storms, the battles, they had led him here. To this moment. To this choice. He exhaled slowly, a smile touching his face. "I'll stay," he said firmly, his voice filled with certainty and relief. "I'll stay. If you'll have me." Her hand pressed against his, warm and soft, and she whispered, "Forever." The stars outside shone brighter, or perhaps it was just in his heart. For the first time in years, Evan felt complete. He had survived war, storms, loneliness, and fear. But more importantly, he had found a home. A family. A life worth living beyond survival. And as the ship sailed silently through the endless sky, Evan Hawley realized that true courage was not only fighting monsters or surviving chaos. True courage was opening your heart, choosing love, and standing by those who trusted you. No matter what world you came from,